This is the most beautiful thing that I received as a result of studying astrology, is that I have learned to accept everyone in my life exactly as they are, thanks to astrology.
When we reincarnate or come into this body, we already come with a lot of subconscious programs and shadows that we carry from past life.
I often see relationships now as portals, right? We're not meant to own people and possess people. Every person we're going to date is going to be like a portal. And friendships as well, right? Everyone we come in contact with, that we get to know, spend time with, and relate to becomes a portal. We go through the portal. As a result of going through a portal, we change.
As a soul, you are love, abundance, and possibilities. You are divinity itself. And then the soul seeks to come into earth and experience life on earth through all the restrictions and struggles and also happiness. It's a journey, right? So when you pass through the 7 rings of Saturn, the first one is Saturn, which is the oldest planet. So Saturn says, okay, are you ready to go on earth? You will feel restricted. You'll feel contraction. You will forget who you are. This is the most important thing, is to understand that you have free will and you are the creator and the designer of your life.
How do we determine our birth chart? Hello, my beautiful friends, and welcome to Mimi Ikonn podcast. Today, I have a very special friend, my best friend, Masha.
Oh.
Masha, I don't think we've ever filmed together,
No.
which is crazy, but also because the reason to that is that I've taken a long break from YouTube and from podcasting, and now that I'm back, I want you to have more stage because you're such a big part of my life.
Oh.
We share so much together, like the friendship that we've had for the past 10 years. Should we share a story of how we met?
Oh, thank you for having me, first of all.
My pleasure.
Yeah, it's such a pleasure to be here and do this with you. I was just telling you a second ago that for me, it's all about co-creation. So I love this, co-creating together.
So today's podcast is going to be on astrology. Before we get into our story of how we met and
We should
what we're
check
going to
the
talk
moon.
about, yeah,
Where was the moon when we met?
astrology is a big thing for both of us. It's something that I personally have been into since I was little, but definitely not to the extent that I am now. And a few years ago, I got really deep into it, and so did you. We'll tell the story. But today, we're going to just share everything Masha and I have learned on the last few years, why it's useful, how we use it in our lives, and how personally it helps me accept myself and others and feel more grounded. Are you ready?
Yes, I am.
So, just to talk a little bit about how
Yeah.
you and I met, because it's a funny story, is that my best friend, funny enough, who is a Leo like me,
Yeah.
messaged me when I was pregnant with Alexa, and she told me to follow you on Instagram. She's like, "There's this lovely girl, Masha. You have to follow her. You already had your daughter Veronica, and you were posting this." Beautiful photos of Veronica taking a bath in your little
Aw.
beautiful sink and all these cute pictures of her in cute outfits. And I was obsessed from the moment I followed you. And then I remember thinking, why don't I just message her? And I think this is such an important note, like something to highlight. When you like someone, don't be afraid to reach out and direct message them, whether it's on Instagram, email, whatever way you can reach out to them. If you feel a strong connection with someone, even if it's virtual, go for it. You never know how it's going to end up. This is how it's end up. 10 years later, we're still friends, and you're such a big part of my life. I would say you're my family.
Aw,
And
thank
so,
you.
yeah, I messaged you, we started chatting, and then next thing I know, we went for lunch, and, then the girls are friends now, our daughters, and we've gone through like big life changes together as well.
I actually think it was written in the stars that we were supposed to meet. And I think our daughters actually were supposed to bring us together because we've seen them grow. And I've seen you pregnant with Alexa, and we met Alexa right when she was a newborn. Veronica met Alexa, and they've been best friends ever since. And there are some synchronicities because Alexa is a Libra sun and Veronica has a Libra moon. And I feel like they had already that soul bond connection, because our sun always is attracted to the moon of a person. And I felt like they were already bringing us together through this friendship. I mean, this is my theory, because I'm very much about pattern recognition, and I like to pay attention to the synchronicities. One of them being your best friend, who it's almost like she also passed the torch. She's like, okay, now you don't have me here. You're going to go to London. And there is Masha. She chose me for you. And also we have
Friendship
Leo.
matchmakers.
Yeah. And it's such, Leo and Sag are like the best match, right? It's both fire signs.
Yeah.
Leo is more grounded. Sagittarius is more like, I always describe it as the firework.
Your best friend in Moldova when you were growing up was Leo.
Was a Leo.
And my best friend when I lived in Toronto was a Sag.
Yes.
So here we are again, repeating the patterns.
Yes.
And I want to talk a little bit about how I got into astrology, and then you can share your story. And there's a very funny moment I remember that happened. You're going to laugh. So like I mentioned earlier, I've been into astrology since I was little. I remember my dad has some astrology books, but whenever I would read an astrology book, I would just open the chapter about me, Leo, and I didn't care.
Leo.
Yeah.
It's all about me.
I didn't care about
me, myself, and I.
Yeah, it didn't matter for me how Libras are or Geminis or anyone else. I just wanted to know more about me. And it fascinated me because when I would read the description, and again, we're talking about here, the Western astrology, I could resonate, and I was nodding as I was reading the description. And that was the extent of all my knowledge. Obviously, I would ask people what sign they are, but if someone said they're Gemini, I had no clue if they're air sign, water, fire, it didn't matter to me. And then fast forward to, more than 2 years now when I went through a separation with my partner, Alex. And I was trying to understand myself in that moment because I was the one who decided to end our romantic relationship. And it was not a logical decision. It was a very intuitive decision. And even though logically it didn't make sense, somatically, it felt like I was doing the right thing. And for someone who is a very logical person, I really struggled with that. So I needed to find all the tools to help myself understand and make peace with my decision. And somehow I intuitively was drawn back into astrology. And I remember that I downloaded this app, Pattern, and I started reading some new books and started sending you stuff. And I remember one day you're like, Mimi, I think now you have really lost it.
You have gone mad.
You have really lost the plot now. And then we both laughed about it. But then as whatever I shared, I don't remember in the moment what I shared. You started reading it. And next thing I know, you got into it as much as I did, even more.
Yeah, because I'm a Sagittarius, and Sagittarius is the visionary, is the seeker of wisdom. It rules the house of God. So it's always aiming the arrow very high. And it's all about knowledge. And then I'm a Scorpio rising. So that's esoteric knowledge. And when something comes my way, I can look at it. Maybe first I will resist it and be like, okay, you've lost the plot. Now you are linking everything that happened to astrology with Alex, and you're trying to make sense of it. And I'm like, I can have compassion. I understand why you're doing it. It helps you make sense of the situation and the reality you're now living in. And I want to say this about astrology, because a lot of people think it's this voodoo thing. Where people have lost the plot, and because it's been really advertised like that, and there is a reason for it. But astrology is a very ancient science. Absolutely. And they used to teach it even in Cambridge University. And that's why a lot of people say millionaires don't use astrology. Billionaires do. Because when you know how to work with it and to read, it's a pattern recognition. Carl Jung actually worked with astrology, and he was obviously also by Einstein called crazy. So he would hide the fact that he was actually, because he was all about archetypes and shadow work. And he started also recognizing the patterns, how he could link it to astrology. And at first, he was also resistant to it, but then as he started digging into it and learning about it, he actually also had so many realization how when we reincarnate or come into this body, we already come with a lot of subconscious programs and shadows that we carry from past life. So, for example, my moon is in Leo, but it's not your Leo moon, but your moon will be determined by past life experiences. So they also say it was like your moon is the sun that you had before.
Interesting.
And I could tell that about myself. I'm like, yeah, I could see myself that in a past life.
You must have been a Leo.
I was
then.
a Leo.
Yeah.
And I could see that you in a past life maybe
was Pisces, because that's my moon.
Yes,
yeah.
we're Pisces. Anyway, a bit of ADHD.
Let's start with the basics because
I went.
You might open a
I
lot
went to Carl Jung and like this is us.
Okay.
And this is very.
When I tell people and they're skeptical about astrology, like you mentioned, astrology is science. I completely agree. You don't have to believe in it. The patterns are there.
Yeah.
And if you recognize them, it can help you in your life. It can help you in relationships. It can help you with your own relationship to yourself. It can help you hire people. It can help you in business. Why not use this incredible tool if it's out there? And when people ask me, how can I understand astrology? For me, the basic thing, it doesn't even matter what sign you are. Personally, I always want to understand how I feel around a person. Because my moon is in Pisces, I feel people. So how I feel tells me the alchemy and the chemistry that happens of different elements. So in astrology, there's 12 signs and there's 4 elements. So we have earth, fire, water, air. And there's 3 signs that fall in each element. So fire, when it comes in contact with air, whichever sign you are, doesn't really matter, will have a different effect than when fire comes in contact with fire. When a fire comes in contact with earth or, water, it is that alchemy that I find the most interesting, that I'm personally very curious
And you
about.
can feel it when you enter in the room. I don't know if you remember when we did Kabbalah classes last year, and there was an astrology class, and we were set by our elements. There was a fire table, water table, air table, and earth table, and we were sitting at the fire table, and our table, we nearly blew that table off. It was like extroverted. Everybody was loud. Everybody was, throwing ideas into the air, and then the earth table was like very grounded, So you can tell.
Absolutely.
And the same in the connection with people, we were discussing about patterns. You can tell someone when they're texting you if it's a fire sign or an air sign. Normally, if people ghost, they might be an air sign. If they're very fast at texting you with reply, taking action, leading, they would normally be a fire sign, or also earth, because earth are quite secure, they're quite grounded, so they show up. Water as well floats away, so they need some time to deal with the emotions, to feel into it, and sometimes it could be very overwhelming. A fire sign can be too overwhelming for them.
Anyone who doesn't know, because you're going a little bit faster, I want to just take it one step back for anyone who doesn't know. Because a lot of people are, let's say they're Aquariuses, and I'm like, oh, you're air. And they're like, oh, I always thought because it's Aquarius, I'm a water sign. I'm like, no. So the 3 fire signs, Leo, Aries, Sag. Obviously, you have 2 fires here. Then the 3 air signs is Libra, Gemini, and Aquarius. Then we have 3 water signs, Scorpio, Cancer, and Pisces. And then what do we have left is Earth. We have Virgo, Capricorn, and Taurus. And then if you go one level deeper, there's fixed, cardinal, and mutable. What does that mean? You want to explain? Because you're really good at this stuff.
So the mutable signs,
you're mutable and
mutable
I'm fixed,
because I'm mutable. So mutable, they're a little bit like they embody all the elements. They have a lot of air inside. So I always tell, for example, Sagittarius, it's also a fire sign, but it's different from all the fire signs because Sagittarius has air inside. So it's like a firework. It's a little bit scattered all around. Pisces are also ruled by Jupiter, the same planet of expansion. They also have air inside. So yes, it's water, but they're more living in the metaphysical here up in the air because they need to constantly seek something more spiritual and divine. So mutable signs, see them up here They're a little bit floating up in the air.
We perceive them as more scattered.
More scattered.
Whether they're fire, air,
yes,
earth, doesn't matter.
Yes. And then the cardinal signs, they're normally very grounded. They're like stoic, very reliable.
And that is Capricorn, Cancer,
Aries, Cancer, and Libra. So you can see, for example, Cancer is a water sign, and people will water is normally very floaty and very sensitive, very emotional. But for example, Cancer people, they make really great CEO or business people because they have this earth in them. At the core, they have this earth which grounds them. So they're very reliable people. And then we have fixed signs, which is
me. So Leo, Taurus, and
Aquarius and Scorpio.
Yeah.
So they're kind of in the middle. They're neither here up in the air. They're not overly grounded, but they're fixed. They're very loyal. So you will when you think about Taurus or Leo or even Scorpio, when they're not in their shadow, when they're fully integrated, they're very loyal sign. They're like your ride or die. So that's how I see them. And
then again, the most fascinating thing that I noticed when I started getting into astrology, and it was from the point of view even of dating or friendships, right? I realized that when I'm around you, I feel a certain way, and you bring out a different version of Mimi.
Yes.
When I'm around my Gemini friend, I feel a different way, and they bring a different version. And when I'm around my Pisces friend, so that's why I was like, OMG, like I need to actually sit down and categorize all of my friends.
So Mimi. Her moon is in Pisces,
yes,
in the 9th house of Sagittarius. So do you see how much Jupiterian energy there is where she needs to study everything and expand?
Exactly, because Jupiter is
expansion.
ruler of expansion.
Yeah.
So I literally mapped out all of my friends and put them in the categories of their star signs. I know all of my friends now, what star sign they are. Sometimes I even know their moon and ascendant. And
we also call people by star sign. the Pisces guy, the Scorpio guy.
And the reason it helps me is because then I studied the pattern of how I feel around every one of these people, how they show up in my life, how they act and behave, and what they embody. And the more I did that, the more patterns I saw. And the more, I think this is the most beautiful thing that I received as a result of studying astrology, is that I have learned to accept everyone in my life exactly as they are, thanks to astrology. First, starting with myself, because you understand your gifts, and then you understand your shadow, and you understand your limitation. And as you study other signs or other elements, you understand their shadows, their limitations. And I'll give an example. For example, air signs can trigger me massively because as a fire, I'm fast to act, I'm action-oriented. And air, by nature, it's everywhere and nowhere, right? And we want things fast, but they're very different in the way that they act and behave. They have different tempo to life. And that would really drive me nuts before. Whereas now, I completely understand and accept them. It's such an intrinsic part of who they are. Same with water signs. They're very emotional and they feel things and they're slower than the fire signs. So who are the fastest signs? Fire.
Fire signs.
And then earth can probably keep up with us for sure. They can hold our intensity. So the most intense signs are usually the ones that have the fire. I would say obviously all 3 fire signs, but also Scorpio is intense because it's
ruled by Mars.
Exactly. So again, even with astrology, that's why it's important to not just label it and say it's black and white. It is not black and white because beyond just whether you are a Sag and I'm a Leo, there's a thing called your birth chart. And how do we determine our birth chart is you need to ask your mom or dad. Hopefully they have a little piece of paper that was given to you when you were born, which will have the exact time of birth. Obviously, they would know where you were born, but you need to the minute of when you were born, and then you can have a snapshot of what the planets look like in that moment of your birth, and then you will know what your moon, ascendant, Venus, Mars, all these different houses stand for. And you know this very clearly because you're actually taking an astrology course now, and you are
Yes.
becoming basically. I'm a part-time astrologer, but super self-taught. But you're now going even deeper and doing different courses. So like every house stands for a different area of our lives. So again, it's just scratching the surface to say that someone is a Leo or an Aquarius. When you really want to understand your chart or someone else's chart, you need to look at the whole chart.
Yeah, I think it's astrology. We're not just our sun sign or moon sign or even rising sign. We actually come here to embody the whole wheel, all 12 energies. And that's how we come back into wholeness. Like the whole purpose of the soul when we reincarnate here on earth is that we forget who we are and we seek to come back into wholeness. And how the journey starts, we say in astrology, we pass through the 7 rings of Saturn. So as a soul, you are love, abundance, and possibilities. You are divinity itself. And then the soul seeks to come into earth and experience life on earth through all the restrictions and struggles and also happiness. It's a journey, right? So when you pass through the 7 rings of Saturn, the first one is Saturn, which is the oldest planet. So Saturn says, okay, are you ready to go on earth? You will feel restricted. You'll feel contraction. You will forget who you are. And then the second one is Jupiter, and Jupiter is expansion. And you will also feel this expansiveness and this need to seek, to understand knowledge and power, right? And then Mars asks, okay, now you will forget that you're just in this state of flow. Here on earth, you will need to take action. Mars is also how we show up. Sometimes it's forceful. You will become also aggressive. It rules anger. So you will forget that you are pure love and peace, and you will get angry. And then next one is Venus. You will forget that you are love. So you will have to come here and seek love in everyone else but yourself, so you can remember to that love. And you will create art from this love that's within you. You will, Venus is about how we wear also clothes, how we style ourselves. It's like when you look at a person, you can tell
how we love others as well.
How we love others, but you also like their sense of style. It's their Venus and then their rising sign. And then we have Mercury, and Mercury is like, okay, you will have all these thoughts, and some of them will be brilliant, and you will have ideas, and some of them will help you, but some of them will destroy you. So you will have to work on your mindset, on your limiting beliefs. So then it's the world of polarity, right? Yes. It's like there is the good and there is the bad in all of them. And then we have the moon, and the moon represents the mother. And it's like, and you will reincarnate here and you will have a mother, and you will go through all this also emotions and emotional roller coasters. And you come here to experience pain and sadness and grief and happiness and love and unconditional love. And then as we reincarnate already with all these energies within us. So we will have Saturn, which is in one planet at the time of birth, when we came here. Saturn, for example, I think right now it's in Pisces. So babies that are born right now, they will have Saturn in Pisces. Mars right now is in Scorpio. The moon is in Scorpio. So whoever is born today will have a lot of Scorpio energy. They will be very, very sexual. The moon will be so empathetic and intuitive with an X-ray vision. So all these planets give us a blueprint to who we are in these bodies. And then how do we read it? I will always say, for me, Mimi brought astrology into my life. She came, I absolutely thought she was losing her mind. I was like, okay, she's really losing it. But I understand that she's going through some hard time and she needs to make sense of it. If astrology, numerology, whatever it is out there, it's helping you, I'm all for it. But also my own energy, I'm this seeker. I need to go deep into every topic. Like you give me something, I will go into a rabbit hole and find the ins and outs of whatever topic it is, because I need to understand it fully. So that's I took astrology. Like, okay, let me, because she kept sending me screenshots and look, it says this and look, it says that. And after the seed was planted, and when the seed was planted, then it sprouts eventually. So I started studying it. And as I started studying it, how do we start studying astrology? We're understanding astrology. We start with ourselves.
Yes.
It's yourself first, and then you go family. If you have children, oh my God, it's like the best tool actually because the moon represents our emotional needs and their inner world. And sometimes you don't know how to approach your child. For example, if you have a spicy one, and yeah, it can be really hard to understand their needs. And maybe there is a backlash because obviously, like, my moon is in Leo, so I'm also quite spicy. Yes. And then, oh, my child's moon is in Cancer. Now I get it. They need so much nurturing and softness and good foods to feel good. The moon moves with the tides. It's every day is changing. So the emotional world, the inner world, it's constantly like that. I'm the sun. My heart is, it's big, it's bright. The sun is not afraid of anything. So
can I just explain for anyone who is listening? Because again, we know this and sometimes we'll forget that, for someone who doesn't know anything, like the moon, the easiest thing to understand, one way, first of all, to generate your chart. Because if you don't have a chart, you don't know what your moon, ascendant, Venus, Mars is. So get your time of birth, put it into
Mimi is
an
the technical
app called Pattern. I personally am not sponsored by Pattern, but please do sponsor me.
Oh, actually,
I have sold so many subscriptions. But also the basic version is free, so you don't need to pay for it.
But I like, if you want to start studying astrology, I like time passage.
I've heard of that one too, yeah.
Because it also shows you the transits, and astrology is not really fixed. It's also constantly alive. So today the moon is in Scorpio. We are having this podcast on astrology, not by accident. We didn't plan it, but the moon will be, it's esoteric wisdom, right? Because Scorpio is about transformation. It's about esoteric wisdom. So I have a time passage. So Pattern, you put your dates.
And then as you look at your chart, the basic things that I would start with without getting too complex is the three most important things is your sun basically represents your main personality traits and kind of the template that you came with. So for example, my sun is in Leo, your sun is in Sagittarius. It's like the information you probably already know by now. Then the moon represents how you feel like on the inside. So my moon is in Pisces, your moon is in Leo. And then your ascendant, or sometimes people say rising, represents, first of all, how people perceive you. So mine is, for example, Cancer, and it softens my Leo because people perceive me as someone who is more nurturing, feels others, but on the inside, I'm very dreamy and idealistic. And actually, I feel more like Pisces than Leo. And I even had an argument with my friend the other day. And she's like, no, but you're Leo. I'm like, but you don't know how I feel like on the inside. Actually, I feel like Pisces. So again, understanding all your chart and what everything stands for helps you understand yourself.
Yeah, so start with that. And then obviously also each house has a meaning. So based where your sun is based, if it's in the 10th house, for example, it's the house of career and status, you'll be very career driven and you will shine in your career. You'll probably achieve very big heights. So if your sun is in the 4th house, which is about home life, the foundation, the roots, you'll be very homey. You'll want to have a family because that house is ruled by Cancer, the mother. So it's very maternal. So you'll have a need to create a family, So it's like, and then you see how the energy changes from being very career oriented, right? The CEO, like the go-getter, the hustler, into being this nurturing homebody who likes to cook beautiful meals and serve children. And these people normally want to have a lot of children around them. So understanding the houses is also very important. And
then, sorry to interrupt. The most important thing before I forget, as you look at your chart, I think way more important than ascendant. Ascendant is important because beyond the fact that it's how people perceive you, your ascendant is what you need to embody in this lifetime. So even though I'm a Leo, I need to become more like Cancer and embody the qualities of Cancer. But the ultimate thing, the most important thing, and it's bizarre to me because I've had many astrological readings done, that I paid for a lot of money, and nobody has ever mentioned this to me until I studied astrology on my own terms. And the main thing that I find the most fascinating is your north node. So there's
It's
such
my
thing in your
favorite thing.
chart. Your south node represents all the wisdom that you have received in your past incarnations. And the north node represents basically your soul's curriculum of why you're here, the main reason, the main lessons, and what you need to become and embody and do. And I have this book here that, for those of you who are listening, I'll just tell you the title is Astrology for the Soul. You told me about this book.
Yeah.
I'm literally reading it so slowly, page by page, highlighting every single word. So my north node is in Aries. I was born. So that goes by the year, because when you put your year, the north nodes, they switch every year and a half or something like that. And yeah, mine is in Aries and my south node is in Libra. And the past incarnation wisdom will always be the complete opposite of what you need to learn and become in this lifetime, which makes life sometimes very challenging. It's like almost you're going from one extreme to a completely different extreme. So, for example, my case is that as a South Node Libra, I was someone for many incarnations who put other people first, always made sure everything is harmonious, that I was serving other people's visions and missions, and then I would come last. And now my North Node is in Aries, so I need to put myself first, choose myself, discernment, even learn to be selfish, which I find
For Moon
so
in Pisces is really hard.
excruciatingly difficult.
Selfish is not the word. Also
Selfish?
Cancer rising.
I need to become selfish, but it's self-love, right? Selfish
Well,
is
I don't think you need to become selfish, because selfish, it's not about so much selfishness. It's about having really strong boundaries.
Yes.
And Aries is all about act first, think later. So it's acting on impulse and intuition. So how I would interpret it, for example, as a Cancer rising and Moon in Pisces, which is both water signs, your greatest gift is intuition. You are so intuitive always. Your intuition is so on point. You can predict things. You can read people very well. So there is maybe instinct is more like it's animalistic, right? Animals don't have intuition. They have instinct, raw instinct.
Yeah.
They just know. So if you could combine what was given to you with this gift of empathy and intuition into the impulse of like having the download to act, and your intuition is like, that's right, it's a yes, act. Aries just goes before overthinking. So not overanalyzing things, sometimes overthinking them and overanalyzing it, but just act first. So it's not really about being selfish, but it's more about...
Well, there's a page or like a chapter
Yeah.
there where it literally says you need to become more selfish, but I will never become selfish
Yeah.
because I, by nature, I'm so giving that for me, it will always be about, like you said, boundaries and choosing myself first.
So you know what it is? It's like we have a south node. So in a simple word, south node is your karma, north node is your dharma. I love to call the north node my North Star. It's where your soul came here to evolve through and to go reaching that North Star. Normally, it's the hardest place to go. We will be like, no, 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 no. And honestly, even I don't even like that star sign, or don't like what they stand for. Mine is in Taurus. So it's all about safety, peace, and stability. And slow and steady wins the race. And I was given
Sagittarius. Massively.
Yeah, I was given Sagittarius sun, who is all about expansion and goes fast. I'm like, let's go. A Leo moon, who is so fiery, moves fast. A Scorpio rising, who is fire, not water. I mean, it's considered a water sign, but it's really a fire sign because it's ruled by Mars. So it's the opposite of where I need to go towards this peace, slowness, groundness. I'm constantly flying. I move fast. I talk fast. I, for example, act before I think. I don't think. I go. And so, so our North Node is our destiny, where we're supposed to go go towards and evolve. And I think for me, when I started digging into astrology and understanding myself and my patterns, that was my aha moment. Because I was like, if I would have found out about the North Node earlier in life, I could have worked on my patterns, because it was, everything made sense. So this is where astrology really helps us make sense of our lives and our choices. So for example, Scorpio rising, South Node. Scorpio is the only sign that kills itself in order to
What do you mean by that?
well, it's like an ego death.
Like a constant
transformation.
Yes.
I'm gonna
Death
die
and
so I
rebirth,
can
yeah.
rebirth, right? So sometimes even when you build something tangible and successful, and it's like
Whether
everybody's
it's
like,
relationship, business,
yeah, and
career.
everybody's like, oh my God, you're doing amazing, well done. Okay, but
Let's
it
destroy
doesn't
that.
give me this thrill. There is no intensity in it. Scorpio shadow is addiction to intensity. I'm just gonna destroy that and start over and build something else because now I'm bored of that. So anything that is the opposite of stability. Taurus people, if you have Tauruses in your life, you will notice that one of their values is peace, comfort, security. They don't go for they are not big on change or transformation. They're like, I like this relationship. I'm so happy in it. Why would I change that? My business is growing very well. It's slow and steady. I am content, right? So do you see how that is? There are polar opposites of each other, but at the same time, they're quite similar when they're healthy. So the South Node and the North Node, it's not about abandoning the South Node, which is, for me, it's in Scorpio. For you, it's in Libra. Libra is the harmonizer. Libra needs to take care of other people's feelings and emotion and make sure that there is harmony. That's why also becomes very easily codependent. And Aries is the firstborn child, the spoiled one. It's Aries is, yeah, it's all about me, myself, and I'm gonna choose myself if I have to. Goodbye, guys. See you later. Your emotions are not my responsibility. That is Aries. Aries doesn't really sit with emotions because it's ruled by Mars, right? So it's about understanding where is your South Node, and then you will recognize your patterns and mistakes. Also, normally life activates our North Node around the age of 35, which is also your
that's a good point.
Saturn return. And so it's like Saturn comes in and Saturn is like, okay, let me see if the foundation is steady. The foundation is the South Node. So Saturn comes to check on you. It's like, so have you done your inner work? Is your foundation solid? So you have to master your South Node.
Are you embodying the North Node yet?
Yeah,
that is the main question.
Are you moving towards your North Node? So the foundation is steady. Have you built your house, which is North Node? Oh, you haven't. Okay, I'm gonna take away everything from you, and I'm gonna destroy your life, and I'm gonna send you a catalyst that will completely shatter your reality, and you'll be like, what the fuck happened? How am I even in this situation?
And that's exactly what happened to me and you as well, right?
So we both,
we were not embodying our North Nodes. I personally was not. Maybe in some areas I was, but definitely in most ways I wasn't. I was very much dissolved in motherhood, dissolved in my romantic relationship, putting everyone else first, myself last. And even though on the outside maybe everything looked perfect, on the inside I knew I was not embodying who I am meant to be because of how I felt like day to day. I didn't really feel, I felt very numb, I would say. I didn't feel alive. There was this...
Yeah, I remember you.
The sense of eros, which eros in Greek is like this aliveness, right? That stands for aliveness. It was really missing for the most part. And it's okay, right? Sometimes you're not aware and you're living your life, and that's fine. And that's why when my Saturn return at 36, it shook everything. As you know, the story sent a catalyst that eventually made me realize that I need to leave this romantic relationship. And as I did that, I didn't leave it to go into another relationship. I left it because I chose myself.
And your book is even about that. So it's very, you see, it's very North Node in Aries.
Absolutely. So I didn't know about North Nodes, or I was not so deep into astrology then. It all came after. But now as I reflect back, I can clearly see that this all happened for me to learn to choose myself, to learn to embody my full potential. Because if I am honest, I was very emotionally dissolved and dependent on my romantic partner, Alex, before. And now, even from the simple things of like doing things on my own, feeling comfortable, like sleeping alone, traveling alone, all these things that I have to do now alone, I feel very comfortable and confident doing that. Whereas before, I almost felt like I was dissolved, and it was not Mimi, it was Mimi and Alex always. And I think if you can manage to retain that level of self within a relationship, beautiful. That is the goal. That is what we call secure relationship. But realistically, how many people embody that, right? And ultimately, again, everything starts with awareness. And first of all, awareness of yourself, whether you're happy in your own relationship with yourself. And when you choose yourself, it benefits everyone in your life. Because when you choose yourself, you're in your truth, you are in your authenticity, which is the highest frequency, and you are in your power, and you are self-possessed. You really embody all of you, all of your quirks, all of your positive qualities, your energy, and everyone will get to benefit from that version of you versus the version of you where you're self-abandoning, pretending to be something you're not, just to satisfy others and keep the peace.
So beautiful.
Yeah, I encourage all of you as you go on this journey of the self-awareness and understanding, figuring out what qualities are great, whether you are, depending on your sign, of course, like there will be certain qualities that are yours. Embody it, squeeze that out of you, right? Because it's like these are your natural given talents. So as a Leo, people would always say, how are you so energetic? And I honestly didn't know. I'm like, I don't know. My iron levels are low, but I wake up and I'm like, let's go, right? It's because I'm a fire sign. Again,
but you're ruled by the sun, which is the most powerful planet.
I mean, everything revolves around the sun,
Everything
right?
revolves around
I'm
the
the
sun.
only
Everything
sign that
revolves
is
around the Leo.
So the energy, like so many
It's
things
so
about
cute.
myself made sense as I understood astrology. And then tap into that power, embody your strength, which again, for me, it's like fire, embody my fire, use it to my advantage. But if your strength is emotions, go deeper into that. Maybe you're a water sign. So feeling people, working with people, helping people, serving people, maybe that is your mission, right? So I think it is so beautiful knowing where you stand, what is yours, and then where you're meant to go. And another thing I want to talk about briefly, without going too, because I feel like this podcast might need chapter 2. Because again, there's so many tabs
You're like
we can
firing,
open.
blah,
Yeah.
blah, 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 blah.
We can talk about relationship dynamics, but there is the Western astrology and the Vedic astrology, which we recently got into quite deeply as well, which in my case was a fascinating story. People told me for years, you should get a Vedic reading. And I was like, no, I don't believe in that. Like, I understand Western, I'm just going to stick with Western astrology. And then I received a free gift from actually a mutual friend, Vlad, who lives in Amsterdam. I haven't even met him, but he's a lovely guy. We met virtually because we were talking about business and potential collaborations. And then he had an incredible Vedic astrologer somewhere in Russia, and he gifted me the reading because I was not to be bothered figuring out how to pay someone in Russia because it's so complicated. So he paid for my reading. I had the reading, which sparked my curiosity. Then another friend got me another reading from another Vedic astrologer who's based in Kazakhstan. And then I went really deep into the Vedic astrology. And for me, it's fascinating because I think for the masses, the Western astrology works because it's the ABC of astrology. It's understanding personality qualities and certain cycles that are happening right now. Whereas when I look at Vedic, it's everything and much deeper. So if Western is ABC, then Vedic astrology is the rest, if you really want to go deep into astrology. And for example, it's thousands of years old. And in India, whenever couples are matched, the Vedic reading has to be done. And if it doesn't align, oftentimes the marriage
Yeah,
doesn't
I
go
heard
through.
they even so if I don't remember what it was, but it's like if it doesn't align
Yeah.
with Venus or something, like if they're in fight between each other, they will basically plant a tree and marry her first to the tree. So it's like,
Interesting. I need to look
so
into
that is
that.
like the first husband, because I don't know, some they look at the dashas and they look at the periods and they're like, okay, first marriage is going to be unsuccessful, but second one is going to be very successful. So they will marry the person to a tree, so it's considered
So
as
it's
a
a way
first.
to hack the system.
So it's a way to hack the system, and then the second marriage will be to the like the real person.
Interesting. I
So,
haven't
but
heard of
it's
that.
like super deep. I think for me personally, astrology, because we all have these self judgments and limiting beliefs. One of my biggest limiting belief, it's always been since childhood, that I'm not good enough. You know, when you grow up in a family that it's constantly criticizing you. You know, we all have gone through this. It's part of the curriculum here on Earth. And when I looked at my chart, I'm like heavy on Scorpio, first house, you know. So it's at first it like scared me. I was like, what? I don't resonate. I'm just joy, because Sagittarius prime emotion is joy. But then I start, okay, I need to own that house, because it's like I'm disowning myself. And when I started really digging into it, I started really finding compassion for myself and for these limiting beliefs and what I feel like that. And then when I looked, like, you know, like people that hurt you in your life and whoever brought most pain. And sometimes we will be very judgmental about those people and will, you know, label them sort, you know, with all these labels that are going around on social media.
Like narcissist?
I don't want to say the word. But then when you look at their charts, you also understand why, where they come from, and what their soul came to work through. And your parents, if you have someone with whom you can't connect and there is resentment and you can't forgive them.
Yeah.
For me, it really helped me forgive everyone who I couldn't find forgiveness for.
Yes.
Because it's the path is through compassion. As you understand why they are the way they are.
Yeah.
And astrology is all about, it's shadow work, to be
Yeah,
honest. For me,
absolutely.
it's shadow work. Because yes, we can talk about, oh, Leo, it's bright and it's the performer,
But every
it's the
sign will have
artist.
a shadow.
But
yeah.
each of us, if we haven't integrated our shadow, will show up in our shadows. Like Leo, it's very egocentric, it's very vain, it's very prideful. Sagittarius, it's blunt to a fault, to the point that, like, I will have this need. When I was little, I actually found also compassion for my teenager self, because I got the nickname of the judge. Because my Scorpio will be like, I see your shadow, and my Sagittarius will be like, I need to point it out to you. So I'll be like bluntly just telling people, this is the truth. Here, I don't care how you feel about it. You digest it. But it did not come from empathy and obviously no emotional intelligence. So that is the shadow, a little bit of a Sagittarius sun, blunt to a fault, because it lacks emotional intelligence. Now, how can I integrate that? I should develop emotional intelligence. I should learn how to be more empathetic. I should go into the depths of my soul, that normally is Scorpio placements in our charts, and face my shadows. And then as you integrate that, you come into light. And with each of them, for each houses, because we have a sign in each of the houses. So each house seeks for you to integrate something. Saturn, discipline. Where is your Saturn? Daddy Saturn will ask you to develop discipline and authority and build legacy, So yeah, for me, astrology is definitely a tool to find more compassion for myself and other people in my life, and not judge so much people. And also, it's a great tool if you are dating.
Absolutely.
I mean, first thing I ask, your date and time of birth, and I can tell straight away what will be the triggers, the shadows that will come up. Are we aligned? Is our Venus aligned? because Venus is how we attract love, right? So where does the Venus fall? Okay, this is bigger now, we're going into synastry, but like there are always things that can help you a little bit upfront, right? Sometimes you can have a date that like has gone wrong. There was power, like I had that, where there was just absolute power struggle. And honestly,
it was a fire sign, wasn't it?
It was a fire sign. So someone who also was heavy on Aries and Leo placements. So ego clashes. And the north nodes absolutely were reversed, not aligned. So I already knew before going onto the date, I was like, we are going to probably kill each other on this date. And it went exactly like that. So I was like, but I knew it. Like astrology already laid it all out for me, patterns. So definitely if you are like, you want to marry the person, it's really good to know all of this up front because you know what soul contract are you signing. And also when you marry, let's say the day when you pick the date of your wedding, I like when I looked back, I didn't know astrology back then, but I married in 2008 under a full moon in Pisces, which is endings, all about karma and spirituality during the financial collapse. Like that was
symbolically
very symbolic, and that was the contract that I actually signed for my marriage. It really, if I look back, that was exactly what it was. My marriage was about. It gave me my biggest spiritual awakening, and it was a container and a mirror for shadow work for me, like big shadow work, which I'm grateful for because I wouldn't be who I am today. I wouldn't even probably gotten into astrology and have gained all this wisdom and knowledge around this topic if it wasn't the same as for you was the catalyst, right? Because I had to understand why did this happen. So like Mimi is trying to understand why did this happen. I'm seeing a pattern. Okay, let me dig deeper into my patterns. And that's how, it's like, it's so beautiful.
And there is no right or wrong. I think this is, especially because we're mentioning now relationships, right? It's important not to go from a point of view. It's like, I'm only going to date fire signs or earth signs because I'm this. Doesn't matter.
No.
Feel and allow yourself to be drawn to whatever you are being drawn. Because the reason you're being drawn is because there's a lesson there. I often see relationships now as portals, right? We're not meant to own people and possess people. Every person we're going to date is going to be like a portal. And friendships as well, right? Everyone we come in contact with, that we get to know, spend time with, and relate to becomes a portal. We go through the portal. As a result of going through a portal, we change and they change. And sometimes you go through the portal for the rest of your life and you'll be with that person until the end. And sometimes it's for 1 year, sometimes it's for 10 years. You don't know, right? We don't get to control life. We can do our best to be the best version of ourselves, but the portal will change you. And for that reason, there's no right or wrong. You can't say, oh, because I'm a Leo, I shouldn't date Aquarius. Yes, air signs do trigger
you
me.
Actually, it will do you so good.
Yes.
It will do so good because they have a sister signs. They have the mirrors. They look into the mirror.
But they
so normally they trigger each other because Leo needs to learn how to be. Leo is all about, I want love. I have so much love. My heart is open. Let me give it all to you. And Aquarius is like detachment. And
they're so slow to respond, slow to act. It just like drives me nuts. But to say that it could still be an important relationship. I know couples who are Leo and Aries. They're happily married together. Do they trigger each other? Absolutely. But they've learned to accept those triggers and work with them. So I think that's a really important point to keep in mind as you're out there. If you're single, don't put anyone into boxes.
Yeah, it's not black and white.
Everyone is here to help you and hold a mirror to help you embody the highest version of yourself. And if you're drawn to them, allow that to happen and go through it. And the last thing I want to mention about Vedic reading, because I didn't finish that point, and I'm really good at like closing the tabs I've opened. So with Vedic, the biggest difference with against the Western astrology is that it's all about your karma, your past life lessons and baggage, I suppose, that you came with into this lifetime, and then your dharma. So what are you here to do? What are your lessons? What are the things you need to embody? And when I had my reading done, I literally couldn't believe it, because everything she has said, and this woman has never met me, only knew my first name and my time of birth, city, country of birth. She pointed out everything. Everything was accurate in terms of my relationships, my relationship with my parents, what I love to do in life. Everything was 100% accurate. And if you've never done a Vedic astrology reading, between the Western and Vedic, I would say try the Vedic astrology reading, because I've never found Western astrology reading accurate for me, because it was all about just telling me who I am, which I already know who I am. Okay, you're confident, you like the stage, you're fast to act. I know all these things. Tell me interesting things. And for me, because I like to go deeper, the Vedic gives me that depth. I'm like, what are my lessons? What am I here to do? What are the top 3 lessons, you know? And what are some karma I came with? How can I dissolve it? And the Vedic provides the tools, the answers. And also what I really like about Vedic astrology, although I believe astrology cannot predict the future, it can give you timelines that are conducive to what you want to do. For example, you want to start a business, you want to get married, have a child. It will tell you this is a great window, because right now this plan is activating your chart, so it would be a good time to start a family or a good time to get into a relationship. So there's a lot of magic there that you can uncover to use into your advantage. So maybe that's the last thing I'll mention, because this is already getting very in-depth. Anything else you want to mention before we wrap up this podcast episode?
Thank you just for having me and for this conversation. I really enjoyed it. I feel like, yes, astrology, I think one thing that I want to mention, I love tropical astrology, because this is, you see how we can be, like, I'm all about the subconscious mind. So I like to go deep into the subconscious and understanding patterns. And the South Node is actually our karma. So, but it's a little bit different. Yes, the tropical, it's more.
What do you
I
mean
think
by
astrology
tropical?
in general.
What is tropical?
Well, tropical is the Western. We call it tropical. Yes.
I've never heard of that.
I think astrology in general is very intuitive. Actually, this course that I did it was for tropical Western astrology. And I loved how we did the course, because we already know all of these things. So we can go into the technical things and be like, oh, there is a technical way to understand astrology. I need to A, B, C, D. And yes, you need to understand the signs, the houses, each planet, what it means, the South Node, the North Node. But then it's really just intuitive. So in the course, we will have to, like, for example, tap into someone's Saturn and study that placement. And how we would do it, we would put a blanket on top of our head, so to cover the crown chakra, so you are not influenced by any other energies. And then you tap into the memory of that. And it's insane, because I saw a woman in war running away with a child. So I did have a download. And at first, obviously, we are so skeptical, but because we are so in which society, this patriarchal world that we live in, has taught us so much to disconnect from our intuition and only act on proof.
The logic.
Only the logic, that we think that every time you have something like that happen to you, you think, oh, this is some crazy voodoo stuff, I need to stay away from it. But if you really give yourself permission to go there, I had this vision. And when I was like, wow, well, that was a powerful vision. And Saturn is all about also suffering and pain and restriction. And I saw that vision, and actually it was interesting. She read almost what I was thinking, because she said, if something came up and you had a vision, that is what we call download. That is the download. It was there. It did not come just out of the blue. That was what you downloaded from the divine. And this is how you should read astrology. It's very, very intuitive, because we already know. And another thing is, it's nothing in astrology, it's set in stone. We have free will.
Yes.
That's why there is a will, right? And we have free will. So, sometimes people are scared of astrology. I feel like, oh my God, what is it if it's going to tell me something negative? Well, you just say, thank you. I don't take that on as my truth, because there are different type of astrologers that are very compassionate, loving, kind astrologers that will tell you, that they have a sensitivity to tell you things that, will help you, let's say, on your journey. But there are sometimes astrologers that will tell you, I don't know, like horrible things, which then you have to kind of live with that and wait and process and also wait. But do you see how this is why I love working with a subconscious mind? Because everything is a program at the same time. So if you take that on as your truth, you are signing a contract. So yeah, if you have an astrologer like that in your life, what happened, just you can in your mind say, I don't agree to this. Thank you, but I'm not signing this contract. This is not my burden and my truth to carry. So yes, I think this is the most important thing, is to understand that you have free will and you are the creator and the designer of your life. And yes, and astrology is just gonna help you understand your path, because we all seek to understand, where am I going? Am I even doing the right thing? Am I on the right path? And normally, again, intuition, our soul already knows and our soul already leads us towards our path.
Yeah.
But of course, the ego will get in the way and will plant seed of doubts. And this is what astrology is. If you are adopting, oh my God, I want to open a beauty salon, but I don't know, is this really like my thing? And then, yeah, if you have a North Node and Taurus, Taurus rules beauty, art, you know that you're on the right path. So it's just that confirmation, but you already know everything. You already have it in your heart and in your soul, and your soul is always guiding you. Put a blanket on your head, cover your crown chakra, tune in, and the answers come. And then you move from there.
Fascinating. Yeah, I agree with what you've said, and thanks for bringing that to our attention, because I find that when I've had some astrological readings, there are things that I know they cannot read on the chart.
Yeah.
It's like they must have channeled it, and that would make total sense. So it's like you end up then tapping into something supernatural to download, in addition to like reading the clear chart.
We have so much power. Like, we are divine beings, we are spiritual beings in having a human experience, but we forgot, right? Because we passed through the 7 rings of Saturn and we forget who we are, so we come here to search. But I feel like we are afraid of our own powers. Like this image that came to me of this woman in war, suffering, all of that. And I started, first thing, I was like, I've gone Delulu. Why did I see that? So I first thing was,
so were you
push
reading
it
your
away.
chart, or
No,
someone
else's. So I was like, but first thing was like, push it away. You're delusional. Like, again, doubting, judgment, pushing it away. But I think the more we allow ourselves to tap into these powers, and again, it's an inside job. It's going within, and things come. Receive them when they come. Like, don't push them away. Receive them, and as you receive them, it opens another door, and then another door, and then another door. And and then from them you really start to embody these gifts instead of pushing it away. A lot of times we will push our gifts away. We will be like, oh, am I supposed to be an energy healer right now? But the gift is coming to you, and you're like,
so true.
Like, for me, probably astrologer, right? I mean, you brought it into my life. And at first I was so skeptical. Then the more I went into it, now it became a language. Like, my soul speaks
in astrology.
I'm
glad we speak the same language.
Yes. It's actually so beautiful and funny to share this journey.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you so much, for sharing everything you have shared. Was there anything else you wanted to add?
No. Thank you for having me. No, I feel like we've covered a lot.
Yeah, I think that for chapter 1 on astrology, this is great. We're going to wrap it up here. If you guys are enjoying this, do let us know.
If you have any questions, also please ask, and we will answer. And if you want season 2 of astrology,
We would be happy to do that as well. Thanks again, and we'll see you in the next episode.
thank you.
Bye.
Bye.